Hello everybody and welcome to today's IEP Live Learn Lunch. We're really thrilled to be joined today by Tony and Sian from Practice Labs, who are going to be taking us through today's session. I didn't mumble, did I, until I started the recording, on how we can improve our chances and our opportunities through digital skills. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Sian, who is one of our fellows of the IEP. Always lovely to have a fellow with us, and she's going to get the session started for us. Thank you, Sian.
Thanks, Helen. So hi, I'm Sian Wilson. I'm the Head of Strategic Initiatives at Practice Labs. And as Helen said, a fellow of IEP. So I'll be today looking after the chat function. So any kind of questions you have as you go through, I'll be answering them, and also be looking after the question and answer session at the end of the programme. I would like to introduce you to Tony Glass. So he is our Global Head of Growth, and I'll pass you on to him, who's going to take you through today's session. Hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, Sian, and welcome everybody. If I can start sharing the screen, it would be good. Helen?
Go ahead, you can share your screen now, Tony.
If only I could. You cannot see anything at the moment?
We can't at the moment, but don't panic about that. We'll get it working for you, Tony. You should be able to see the share screen button at the bottom of the screen for you.
Yeah, there's always starts like this, doesn't it?
That's okay. It's no fun if it's all perfect.
Yep. Okay.
There we go. Absolutely wonderful. We can see it.
Well, that's delighted. Let me just get this sorted here from this end. I'm just tidying up my screen. So, as I said, good afternoon, everybody, and a big thank you for taking valuable time out of your day to join me on this webinar today. As Sian said, my name is Tony Glass, and it's a real pleasure, or perhaps a task, to share some background and some facts and some challenges, perhaps, and perhaps a solution on the subject of essential digital skills. Now, EDSQ is a widespread challenge for many individuals, for companies, and for governments around the world. So hopefully this session will help us all understand more and what some solutions may be. But firstly, just let me introduce myself. I'm the head of growth, global growth for Practice Labs, and I've been in the learning industry for over 25 years. Previously corporate learning, but certainly over the last 4 or 5 years, very focused on helping individuals and helping companies close the gap in the infotech space. So let me introduce Practice Labs. Who are we? And this is not a sales pitch, but I do think it's important to understand who we are, our background, and our mission. The business started, like many, on a light bulb moment, when the founder, a chap called Ricky Doyle, and some of you may know Ricky, kept being asked by a junior colleague in the tech department of a big company in the city, how do you do this? How do you do that? And the same question kept coming and coming, to a point where Ricky got rather frustrated and turned around and said, why do you keep asking the same questions? And his colleague turned around and said, because I sometimes forget, not unusual, but I don't get any chance to practice. And the last thing I want to do is bring the whole company's systems down. And that was the point the light bulb came on. What if we could build live systems that emulate business IT infrastructure that allows people to practice without fear of breaking anything? And that's where Practice Labs started. Now, Ricky tells a story and it takes 10 minutes, so you're lucky that it was a 60-second job from me. But today, we have helped over 600,000 students and employees improve their odds of getting certified, of getting a job, or getting promoted. Our original mission was to help 1 million learners improve the odds by 2023. But now we're thinking actually 1 million a year might be achievable. So we're on the right trajectory. And our culture is the heart of everything we do. It underpins everything we do. And we focus on 4 key areas: challenge, respect, enjoy, and reward. And in a nutshell, that's Practice Labs. So in some ways, this is the most concerning part of the presentation because the facts speak for themselves. And let's be clear, this is a global issue, not just a UK problem. If you consider the pace of change and the focus on digital transformation and artificial intelligence as an example, the challenge to just keep up to date is considerable. And with things like COVID over the last year and a half, potentially has made the problem a lot worse. So let's go through this list. 1 in 5 adults having no or low basic digital skills. That's incredible. Some 17 million adults in the UK do not have the digital skills needed for work, say Lloyd's. 17 million, 25% of the population, 40% of the working population. 1/3 of the vacancies are difficult to fill, to some degree attributable to lack of appropriate digital skills. BCS say that an estimated 9 million are unable to use the internet and their device by themselves. An estimated 2.7 million, say BCS again, can access the internet, but lack the ability to use it at its full advantage. There is no doubt we have a skills gap. So let's take a closer look. Above the line, we know that the skills gap is growing and will continue to grow unless we take action now. Unlocking potential is a must-have. Reskilling into new roles and learning new skills is the only way we can keep pace with the market and with the competition. And below the line, actually the challenges continue. The investment in automation, including artificial intelligence, including robotics, cybersecurity, they continue to accelerate at pace, putting 1 in 5 jobs at risk through automation by 2030. And today's skills are becoming redundant. So agility, flexibility, learning development must be a priority today in preparation for tomorrow. So let's go back to the start. How do we help this untapped pool of talent? Essential digital skills. Well, firstly, they are at a minimum the passport for getting future employment, or at least get in the job queue, if not getting the job itself. The government, as of September 2020, provided essential digital skills qualifications free of charge to those 19 plus with no or low digital skills. This is funded by the Adult Education Board. And these are entry level 3 and level 1. And there is actually an easy assessment to help you as advisors access the right level. So moving on. So the structure of essential digital skills. At the top level, there's 4 key segments. Communication, handling information and content, transactional and problem solving. But before we go into that in any depth, let's start with the foundational skills, which are really the key pieces of the jigsaw before entering the digital skills journey. The foundational skills, as you can see on the list, and I won't read them out, are the basics, which will be required to underpin the step into essential digital skills. And these tasks may seem obvious to all of us on this call, but this is where the journey starts for more people than we think. So going deeper into the essential digital skills, here are some examples of the topics that need to be covered. And as you can see, learners are now using the technology. They're using apps, understanding collaboration and communication. They're knowing company security policies, storage, and information retrieval. They can buy and sell online, and they can solve problems using online tools and applications. We know these skills are important. We know these skills are needed, but how do we get access to the funding and start the essential digital skills journey? funding is through the Adult Education Board, and I've said that earlier. So if you need to have this, you in your provision, you can look at partnering with a provider to deliver on your behalf. You can subcontract or speak to your LEP or regional skills partners. A key point here is that learners who lack basic and foundational skills are also often challenged in other fundamental areas. For example, communication, confidence, literacy, and numeracy. This means that their digital skills need or should form part of an holistic program of learning to really help them get on the ladder. So can we help our customers and communities improve the odds of getting a job? I was going to say it's simple, but we know it's not. But education, education, education. We know that obtaining digital skills will help gain and sustain employment, but also give individuals confidence in their everyday lives. Digital skills must be a fundamental part of the toolkit, not just today, but going forward, providing ongoing support that maintains the pace with the changes in technology and skills. Our role is to provide and assist throughout the learning journey, to provide the support and the toolkit to enable customers to take control. So we're rapidly coming through the end of this, and it's been quite a quick session. But I want to now share a little bit about how Practice Labs can help teach this. You know, that in terms of teaching, we know that resource is tight with tutors and assessors. We also know there's an extra challenge of many not having the digital skill set to support the topic. So at Practice Labs, we're launching a learning resource that includes the following: an initial assessment to determine the level the learner is working at and where their key learning needs are. A step-by-step, easy-to-use learning resource that develops the learner through video content led by digital professionals, which builds knowledge and skill, and then embeds assessment into the journey to prove ability. That's the key, to prove ability. It will allow students and learners to build their knowledge, and most importantly, practice and practice without worrying about breaking anything or making any mistakes. This resource will show the learner where their gaps are, and then they can go back, rewatch, retry, and take the assessment again. And most importantly, understand where they've improved and where their gaps are still, if there are any. What we know is this will build confidence for the learner. It will build knowledge. It builds skill and ability. And most importantly, readies them to complete their end assessment and gain their qualification. So in terms of slides, that's all, 15 minutes, so not too bad. We are launching this resource in September. Hopefully there are some discussion points that we want to talk with you. Hopefully you have some questions. So let's switch back to Sian and start thinking about the following questions. I've put them on a slide to try and make it a little bit easier, but switch back to you, Sian.
Thank you very much. What I'll do is I'll just quickly go through some of the ones in chat first before we go through. So one of them is from Kate Tully, who said the Forward Trust is supplying digital skills level 1 qualification under AB currently, and linking it to the environmental awareness and hospitality job vacancies. So I've got your details there, Kate, to contact and see if we can connect together. Catherine McKnight has added, this is so important for others to understand that from the very beginning, and then use the course to build on this rather than starting at a level that might be too low and result in frustration. And that she really likes the structure of the course, which is great. Christine Brown has asked, does anyone know which awarding bodies accredit this qualification? Currently, there is NCFE, Gateway, Pearson and City and Guilds, but that could change and more get added to them as we go through. And looking at their kind of pricing structure, it's around about kind of £17 to for registration and certification. In terms of the funding that you get, if you've got an AEB contract, you get around £300 per learner as well. In terms of that. So I'll just move on to some of this is really questions for the group, and it helps us as well in our design of a learning resource as well. So in your experiences as employability practitioners, what do you think? Do you think that the Essential Digital Skills will be a useful tool for customers? And how would you look at accessing this? So I'll open that out to the group.
So hopefully it's not too noisy in the background, Sian. I've got a comment coming from Nigel saying, what is the cost of access to the learning resource for the learner? Are they able to access for free?
So for the learner, it's completely free if you go through the adult education budget. So you as a provider would get £300 per learner. So it means that basically the government have brought this in. So anybody over the age of 19 can access this for free. So you would get £300 per learner, and we're looking at our resources to be around the kind of £15 to £20 mark.
Excellent, thank you for that. Catherine says, I think it would be really useful for customers with the assessments. Would you have reasonable adjustments such as extra time? The customers may like the qualification to add to their CV.
Yeah, absolutely. And straight enough, this is something we were talking about the other day. So yes, it'll be the same as kind of if anybody does like functional skills type of assessments, it'd be similar to that. So you put your reasonable adjustment request in, and then there will be extra time on assessments. The way that we've developed this resource is so, and it was an issue within a number of training providers I worked with, is sometimes you don't necessarily have those tutors that have that skill either. You know, you've got tutors that might work in certain sector areas, or you know, you're an advisor and you've got absolutely loads of other stuff to do. So we developed a resource to be able to literally like click into the program, and so they're ready for the end assessment at the end with the awarding organisation. So we've looked at a diagnostic type assessment at the beginning, helps you tell you what level you're at and where you might have some issues that you want to work on, and then an end assessment as well, so a bit like a mock test. So you can kind of, like we say, you can practice. You can practice before you go for that end assessment as well.
Brilliant, thank you. So Christine said her question was also about the learning resource that you, Practice Lab, were referencing. How much to access?
So that would be around about £15 to £20, and so you would just look in terms of you would draw down your own funding, and then obviously you just pay us commercially, like on a subscription kind of level. So you do X amount of learners for that year program, and then we just add credits on when you need them.
Brilliant, thank you. And Caroline says, does the AEB funding cover devolved and non-devolved areas?
Yeah, so depending on what contracts you have. So this EDSQ is across all of those contracts. So it's, the government said it's access to all adults over the age of 19, regardless if devolved or non-devolved. So I'd just check what contracts you have. If you don't have a contract yourself, there's different ways to do it. So if you don't have an AEB contract, you can either partner with somebody that does, and they can deliver it on your behalf, or see if there's some subcontracting opportunities as well. We are looking at the beginning of next year to open this up separate to the qualification part. So so just anybody could access it through the store, like Apple Store and that type of stuff, for a similar amount of money, that they might not necessarily want to do that kind of formal qualification in, but we're planning that for the beginning of next year.
Perfect, thank you. Matt has asked what live support from tutors is available.
So currently at the moment, this will be just a resource in terms of on a platform. So it is video content that guides somebody through each element with a narrative, some assessment questions, so kind of multiple choice, tells people where they need to do some work on. So at the moment there isn't live tutor support. That would be either through yourselves or through your providers. However, we're building it in a way that they shouldn't really have to have that support because it's so easily guided through. And I think we might have lost Helen.
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry. So David has asked, is the provider totally online for learning, and how long does a qualification take?
Yeah, so we've developed this so it's completely online, so people can access it wherever they've kind of got a device, so it's mobile accessible as well, so it doesn't kind of limit that. In terms of the qualification, so the qualification itself has guided learning hours of around about 47 hours. So in reality, you're probably looking around that kind of time period. We're chunking it up into little, what we call episodes, like modules, so people can do it within that kind of their own time, or when they've got those sort of needs, so they can do like a couple of hours here and then come back to it later on in terms of that. So yeah, they can chunk that out throughout the process. And it's supposed to be there as a you can either do it standalone or you can do it as part of your other program. So if you're looking at somebody who, for example, might be on Kickstart or something like that, really interesting kind of program to put somebody on. But if you've got somebody who's also looking at other adult education budget courses, so like the guys at Forward Trust, where they're looking at kind of their elements, it's there as kind of that inclusive package. So you're actually doing a sector-based kind of qualification and skills-based program, plus also doing your digital skills alongside.
Fabulous, thank you. And we do have a question from Emily, but before I come to that, Chris has responded to your question, Sian, and she says, I have a large network of voluntary sector partners I am working with and would be very interested in the user test.
Perfect. That was one of the things I was definitely going to ask, is we're going to be doing user testing, and where we want to test it is the employability sector as much as possible, the voluntary sector as much as possible. So yeah, definitely. And it'll be over probably around kind of early September sort of time when we've got that finished product, because one of the things and the questions really with ourselves is some of that video content will be through YouTube. Obviously only the learner can access it through a private channel, but understand if somebody is undertaking this within like a job centre, etc., they may have limitations in terms of firewalls to that. So we're really wanting to test with as many different types of people as possible, so we can really understand if there's any barriers there.
Excellent, fantastic, and I'm sure that's something the IEP can support you with as well. See, I've noticed we've got a few fellows on the session today, haven't we? And wonderful things are happening when we get our members and our fellows together. So to go back to Emily's question, she says, if the customer is already part of a DWP program, can they still get funding through AED?
That is something I will definitely check, but I do believe so. I think because it's an adult programme, I said especially this one, because this is a government initiative, it's a government priority, then they've basically said anybody who needs these, anybody who needs these skills can access through that funding pot. So I do believe so, but it is something that I will double check and come back to you with a definite.
Perfect, thank you. Nigel has asked, is there an opportunity for IT tutors to access the system to check it out before recommending to the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be doing a demo that people can access. They can kind of try it out and make sure it works for them, especially if you do have IT tutors that want to use the resource just as part of their toolkit. So they want to do, as I said, some people might want that face-to-face as well. They can actually use this as part of their kind of module. So yeah, we will be doing some demos for that, and that hopefully should be by the end of August.
Okay, excellent. So that's all the questions I have at the moment. I'm just waiting to see if any more questions come in. Well, oh yes, we have. We've got another response from Christine again to answer Sian's question. Some customers may want a formal qualifications, but others will just want the skills development without the end assessment.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've looked at is, and obviously we're working within the employability sector as well, you know, qualifications are great, and some people really want them as part of their CV, but others might just want that little bit of kind of skill development, and especially where you've got people that are reskilling. So I was on with the job centre in York yesterday, and they were talking about the amount of hospitality vacancies they have, and they're finding it really hard to fill at the moment. So that kind of cross-sector, being able to move people into different roles, they were sort of saying, well, actually, we would just quite like it as a part of a skills development. We don't necessarily need a full qualification. So that's what we will be looking at the beginning of next year, to develop that so somebody could just access it themselves. If you were looking at somebody to just do it through yourselves without the assessment, you can still use the resource and just pay commercially for it for £15 to £20 without having to go through an awarding body or anything. So they'll still get the same experience, they just wouldn't get the qualification at the end of it.
Okay, excellent. Yes. So Catherine says, I know of some supported internships who talk about ICT skills where the college delivers content. In that situation, would you need a college tutor to commit to spearheading this in their setting, or would the idea be that the learner can do this themselves as part of learning?
So the idea is really that the learner can access this themselves. It either could be part of a supported program. So like we said, the tutors could use the video content and stuff we've got, because it's really kind of, it shows you the, for example, how to use a USB stick. You know, it shows you how to do that. They talk it through. It's really easy to use. So they could have that as part of their structured program, or if they wanted it just the learner to do it at home or when they've got downtime and things like that, they can do it. So it's really, it's up to the provider or yourselves of how to do that. So even if it was supported internships, they can do it either way.
Excellent. And Catherine's nicked what I was going to say then. Thank you so much. That's great. It has been so far. We've not got, oh, I've got another question from Nigel. Will invites be sent out to access the demo?
Yes, definitely. So what we'll do is we'll get people's details that are interested. If you can, I'll put my email address on here anyway, but if not, through Helen. And for those that would be interested in user testing or even demo testing for us, we can send links out in terms of that. That would be absolutely brilliant. The more the merrier, really. So we're looking at, like I said, beginning of end of August, beginning of September to be able to do that.
Excellent, thank you. That's all the questions we have at the moment. Sian, you've done really, really well.
Well, it's quick fire questions.
Very quickly, yes. Impressive stuff. Impressive stuff. So it felt a little bit like you were on a panel while there. You did really, really well.
Brilliant. And if anybody has any other questions in the meantime, or you look through the, what I'll do is I'll send the link as well across about in terms of the gov.uk site on this, and it just gives you a bit more practical information. But if you have any questions about it, feel free to just drop me an email and I'm more than happy to answer.
Perfect. So I've popped your email address in there.
Perfect.
Double check and make sure I have popped it in there correctly.
Yeah, it is. I can see.
Perfect. Okay, because I typed it quickly and then thought, oh. So that's in there for everybody. If you do want to get a hold of Sian, or if you have any questions, you can either contact myself or Sian. Thank you for a great session today. Lots of interest there, and it'll be good to see how the testing goes and have a follow-up with that. So that's really wonderful. Thank you also, Tony, for your presentation. That was
my pleasure.
Love the slides, love the colours in the slides. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining us again today. That sort of brings us, unless we've got lots of thank yous coming in from the group, which is wonderful. Darren, Emily, Catherine, Caroline are all saying thank you very much for that. So that's wonderful. And yeah, thank you all for your time this lunchtime. As I always do at the end of a session, I'm just going to take a moment to let you know what's happening next week. Next week for our 74th IEP Live Learn Lunch, we have good employability company joining us, and we're going to be looking at measuring quality and instilling quality. Now, for those of you who have joined us for the previous sessions, we've got another fellow joining us to lead on that one, David Imber, and you'll know we've had some great sessions there. So please do have a look at your IEP Learning Network e-bulletin that came out this morning, and the link is on there. If you don't receive the IEP Learning Network bulletin and you would like to, drop me an email and I'll get you added to our knowledge, not a knowledge base, that would make sense, to our mailing list. Nigel, I've just seen you've asked when the recording will be available. I will do my very best to get that up this afternoon. I do have some meetings. Sean's smiling because she knows what I'm about. Sometimes when they're delayed, it's because I'm busy, and I will make a concerted effort to get them on this afternoon. I do have some meetings, but I will get that on there this afternoon because I know there was lots of really great information on there that I know you'll want to refer to. So I will do my very, very best. Lots more thank yous, and it's wonderful to see. So yeah, it's been great. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everyone who spent their lunch with us today. I look very much forward to seeing you all on next week's session, and Tony and Sean, welcoming you back at some point in the future to follow up on what's happening with the tool.
We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording, everyone, and thank you very much. Goodbye from sunny Weymouth, Nigel. He's showing off because he's still got the stuff. We don't mind. Enjoy it while you can, Nigel. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.